All right. Who would have thought that after two broken marriages, after, you know, taking control of a school, would lead, even a midlife crisis, would lead to a love story that is so strong and powerful that even till this day, that is going strong and on the way to being like an entire marriage of itself. So this one is called, this household is basically, to me, is called Mr. and Mrs. And this is going to include two pre-made households that is a part of the game. So if you get so one household from City Living, and then the other household is from Get Together. So those two packs are involved in this. But we're gonna start talking about Miss Geraldine Burgess. So Geraldine, she is a sim that I had created. I basically created her since I needed a principal for one of the high schools, one of the 4 high schools that I made in my Forever Save. And so she, is, she's starting out. She's been in education. She's just, this is her, I think, like second time being able to take over a school and being able to, be able to, manage a school at that level. And one of the other principals at the other schools that she, talks with and gets advice, talks with, just to like make the experiences at the high schools, better for each and every teen, is Clara Bjergsen from the Bjergsen household. So Clara Bjergsen, perfectionist, and she's basically principal of Windenburg High, whereas Geraldine, she's principal of Newcrest High. And so, they always come together. They always, talk student activities. They talk, PTA, like PTAs, things like that. So they talk about everything within the schools to, help each other out and things like that. And since, and I'll do this, and they, start having a close bond with each other, like so close to the point where Geraldine, she's starting to get exposed to the family, to the Bjergsen family. And so she meets Bjorn, Sophia, and Elsa. And so, like, throughout that time, as Geraldine and Clara are getting close, Bjorn and Geraldine are also getting close. Now, Clara, everybody knows she's a perfectionist, so she thinks everything has to be perfect and everything. And here comes on the other side Bjorn. Bjorn being the gloomy type. Gloomy, trying to still find his soulmate, even though he has a wife and 2 kids. My theory for them two is they both had Sophia very young. Or it was at a point where they weren't ready to get married, but they were forced to get married because Clara was pregnant with Sophia. And then on through, the rest of the time with them, in comes Elsa, and in comes, well, soon, Kingston. But, like, in comes their family because they feel like they're forced into it. But, with that, Bjorn just doesn't feel like it's right for him. And neither does Clara, but I'll get back to Clara. So, Bjorn, he's just, wondering, like, is this where I have to be? Is this where my life's going for me? And he meets Geraldine. And as him and Geraldine are, talking it up, Clara and Geraldine are also talking it up because both Clara and Bjorn, they're starting to feel like they both are just like, they feel stuck in some way. They're unsure if they're, if they're living their true selves. And so suddenly we start getting that Clara, she's starting to have she's starting to have some feelings, some romantic feelings towards Geraldine. And Bjorn starts having romantic feelings towards Geraldine. And so with that, Geraldine's caught in the middle. But as time goes on, Clara, she starts experimenting with like her sexuality a lot. And she thinks, okay, maybe I'm a lesbian. Maybe I'm gay. So she comes out as lesbian. Whereas Bjorn, he's really starting to like Geraldine, just the fact that she's a great listener to him. And then his midlife crisis hits. So he's trying to do everything he can to impress Geraldine because he's really getting to like Geraldine. And next thing you know, Geraldine kind of takes a liking to Bjorn. But she's besties with Clara. So it's like that ongoing, already chaotic, just, it's so much is stirring up. It's so intense. And then next thing you know, Clara experimenting. Bjorn, he's, already came to the fact that, like, I'm getting too ahead of myself. I forgot to mention this. So, you know how Clara is like, oh yeah, I'm out as lesbian. Goes to a lesbian bar, experiences that lesbian lifestyle, and honestly starts to like it. And so she talks to Geraldine, wondering, okay, how do I tell this to Bjorn? And when Bjorn finds out, he is so betrayed that he immediately divorces Clara. He's like, I can't do this. I cannot do it. And he stays with Geraldine. And then just throughout that whole stay, him and Geraldine, they start messing around with each other. And then Clara, she's like, she doesn't know how to feel about the divorce. Yeah, she's sad that she divorced her husband that she thought, was, gonna be there for her and support her. But no. So now she has kids to raise. Bjorn has kids to raise. But she don't raise them alone because she kind of experiments with her straight side again with Aaron Beta from the Beta household. And they have a kid. And on top of that, and this was a surprising thing, like, I did not do any of this. Like, this happened on its own, and I just played along with it. In the midst of all of that, Jesminder and Aaron, they broke up. They broke up, adopted one girl, and had one girl. And they also had a dog. So now, Aaron has that dog, and Jesminder has the two girls. And now, Clara, she's like, you know what? I'm better off as lesbian. And she raises her kids with Aaron and Bjorn paying child support for her, of course. And you got Geraldine and Bjorn. Now, Geraldine and Bjorn, they did become official. They ended up becoming official. And they honestly are doing great. They're messing around left and right. They working and all that stuff. Geraldine's still good with Clara. Bjorn, they're co-parenting as much as they can. And Bjorn's thinking about popping a question. And honestly, in the midst of that, Geraldine also kind of like helped him get through his midlife crisis, so he's even more praised that she's around and stuff. So it's like, yeah. But that's basically like the tea and like kind of like the story of Mr. and Mrs. with Geraldine and Bjorn. So that's a little like that's a little that's basically kind of a little bit of tea, a little bit of story so far. So there's gonna be more to come. But I'll get to the next one. I'll get to the next household soon enough.